Welcome in and welcome bloody back. It is year 2 of my game of the year, which I found out is the first annual. The first one's inaugural, and the second one is the first annual, but that doesn't sound right, so we're calling this the second annual game of the year, or as we call it, ranking the list. Let's just get started with the list. Let's just start there. This is the list. This is my life's work. This is all the games I've ever played ever. This year, as you can see here, we played 60 games. And last year's game of the year, we just ranked every game we played, because we played a comfortable 30. We ended up ranking about 25 of them because some of them were games I had played a million times. So we just ranked about 25 and it took a couple of hours, an hour and a half, something like that. This year, since there are 60 bloody games, we figured that might be a bit too much. And you don't want to sit here and listen to me rank 60 games for 5 hours. So we decided to break it up into 2 top 10s. We're going to do the top 10 games that I played this year that came out throughout all of history. And then we're going to do what everyone else does, and we'll do the top 10 of games we actually played this year. For those of you that care about the numbers, I played 16 games this year that came out this year. So making a top 10 out of 16 wasn't too hard. I just had to cut 6, figure out the order. The top 10 of games that didn't come out this year, that leaves us 44 games. That was a way more competitive category. And boy, oh boy, before we get started, can we just say that 2025 is one of the all-time best years there has ever been for video games. People like me, who spend their entire lives just playing video games, could not possibly get through all the games in 2025. It will go down 10 years from now, 100 years from now. 2025 will be remembered as one of the greatest years there has ever been for video games. It's so cool. And on top of just that being for the games that came out this year, I happened to play some of the all-time greats from throughout history this year. This is easily maybe the best year I have ever had when it comes to video games. And that's not in small part to the fact that most of them I played on stream with a bunch of you guys, and it's been a great fun. So, let's get started. Let's get bloody started. We played 44 games that did not come out this year. And I narrowed that down to 10, and it was bloody hard. But at number 10, we have... Oh no, wait, hold on. Let me just get because this isn't Game of the Year yet. This is Game of the Year, hold on, that didn't actually release this year. There we go, that's better. You see the little bit? There's a bit. Okay, here we go. At number 10 of games that didn't come out this year. Would you believe I've not got a producer? Did that all myself. It's unbelievable. At number 10 of games that did not come out this year is Metroid Zero Mission. This year, I played basically every Metroid that exists. I've always loved Metroidvanias. I've played Metroid Prime 1 maybe like 30 times. I've said it's one of my favourite games ever. And yet somehow I've basically avoided the entire Metroid series. Ever. Forever. And ever and ever. I basically avoided the entire Metroid series for my whole life. This year I finally got to it. I finally decided it was time to play all of the Metroids. And oh my bloody God, have I been blown away. This is a 20-year-old Game Boy Advanced remake of the original Metroid, a 40-year-old video game. I had pretty low hopes, I'm not going to lie. This is a 20-year-old remake of a 40-year-old game that was made for the Game Boy Advance. My hopes were incredibly slim, and I was honestly kind of blown away. Prepare yourself. I do not have a big thesaurus of words. I'm not incredibly verbose. You are likely going to hear me say, this game blew me away about 50 times today, so prepare yourself. But this game really shocked me. I couldn't believe how atmospheric and tense, and one of the things people always talk about with the Metroid series is this feeling of loneliness, this actual feeling of like, you really feel like you are alone on an alien planet. And somehow this 20-year-old Game Boy game managed that in a way that very few games even do now. It is kind of unfathomable. So, a big, massive shout out to this remake of the very first Metroid. This is as old as it gets. And obviously started one of the biggest, best franchises there has ever been in video games ever. One of the longest running series. Be warned, this is not the last time you're going to see Metroid today. This series changed me this year, so prepare yourself. You're going to hear a lot more about this lady and her space adventures. Moving on. At number bloody 9 is Hyper Light Drifter. We played Hyper Light Drifter on stream this year. We played the whole thing, and it was so cool. I had heard for years that Hyper Light Drifter was cool, but you hear plenty of indie games are cool. People constantly talk about how cool X, Y, or Z indie game is. But Hyper Light Drifter is it's made by a developer whose name I can't remember at the moment, who I rate highly. So we decided it was finally time. And it is very cool to... There's sort of something really special about being told you're going to like something for a very long time and then get into it and it still exceeds that. And Hyper Light Drifter was that. We played it on stream, we played the whole thing. And not only is the music incredible, the gameplay is fun, it's engaging, the combat was deep but not confusing. And confusing is actually kind of the word I would use for this. It's confusing in sort of the best way. Heart Machine, thank you, Spirit Weasel in the chat. The plot at the beginning doesn't really explain what you've got to do. You just start on this map that has multiple directions and you could just go anywhere. Even by the time we finished the game, it's very rare that a narrative of a game will make me go, I don't understand what just happened and I feel like I'm gonna cry. There was a heartfeltness, a real sense that we accomplished something beating this game, even though, gun to my head, I could not have told you exactly what happened. There was a dog and these big monoliths, and the dog would wink at you sometimes, and then everything fell, and then the main character... It was so confusing. The point is that despite... the confusion was almost the point. The game did not hold your hand at all. And the entire time you're playing it, trying to figure out what's going on, there's incredible music playing, and that helps. I'm a sucker. That's a running theme through last year's Game of the Year, and it's going to be a running theme through this year's Game of the Year, is that if you put good music in your game, I am in. I will take terrible, terrible gameplay if the music over the top of it is really good. And this is no exception. The music Heart Machine put in this game is fantastic. I think it might be by Disaster Piece. I could be wrong, but either way, shout out. The music was amazing. The gameplay was amazing. Short, sweet, sick indie game with so much... The phrase people use is style over substance, and this had both. This had style and substance. I cannot... It is by Disaster Piece. Yeah, I knew it. Thank you, Videoless. I cannot praise enough. It's actually funny, when I came to do my Game of the Year, I had forgotten about this. And I had mostly written out my 10, and I looked and I was like, oh my god, Hyper Light Drifter. And when I first remembered, I put it quite high. And then I was like, well, actually, I preferred this, and I preferred this. And it dropped down, but it comfortably now sits at number 9 on the list. Hyper Light Bloody Drifter. Moving on. At number 8 this year, that did not actually release this year, is Maquette. This is one of the coolest puzzle games we played this year. This might be one of the coolest puzzle games I've played ever. And I think if I hadn't played, naming no names because they might turn up later, but if I hadn't played some of the all-time great puzzle games this year, I would have been speaking about this a lot more. This sort of flew under the radar this year because all of my puzzle energy went to a handful of games you're going to hear me talk about later. But this is special. We played this on the stream about a year ago. It stars famous Hollywood actress Bryce Dallas Howard, and is a puzzle about perspective and moving buildings and shapes. There is a theme of recursion throughout this game. You are in a room, and on the table is a little small version of the world you are playing in. And behind you, outside the building, is a big giant version of the world you're playing in. And the entire point, as you can see here, there's the little table version of the world you're in. The entire point is that you're making changes on the little table and in the real world to affect the other one, and you're like looping through them. You'll realize, oh, I'm in the little one, I need to go out to the big one. Oh, I can't do that here, I need to go out to the bigger one to then loop back into the small. It is so cool. The one issue we had with it is that it's sort of two games, and the two games don't mesh like full. There's a love story here. There's a story about a young couple. And I'm realizing as I'm talking about it, the story is this young couple continually trying to make things work. So there is even elements of recursion in the relationship side of it. But the point I'm making is that half of this game is this love story about this young couple having their first relationship, what it's like to fall in love for the first time, what it's like to get those butterflies when you're young and you've never experienced love before. You know, it's beautiful. But the second half of the game is this incredible puzzle game that does not repeat puzzles. That's sort of actually one of the best parts, is despite this being about recursion, you never really do the same puzzle twice. You see something cool in this game, you've seen it once, and the next puzzle is going to be completely different. There's so many unique... I've played puzzle games my entire life, and this game maybe had like 20 different times where I went, oh, look at that, I've never seen that before. There's a perfect example. You had to take the key from the big world and turn it into a bridge on the smaller world. You see this here? I'm placing this key, a real key, in the little fantasy, in the little toy world, so that I can go back outside, and now there's a giant version of that key there for me to walk across. The game, but there's no more puzzles in the game like that. That's that one done. Every puzzle is unique. It's clever. I really strongly suggest, if you've got a few hours and you love puzzle games, that Maquette is fantastic. And yes, we shouted out, the voice actress in it is Bryce Dallas Howard, and she's really good in it. She carried the narrative side of it really well. That is my one complaint, is that you are sort of playing two different games. You're playing like a walking simulator or narrative game about love, and you're playing a sick puzzle game, and the two don't fully... You know, maybe later on we're going to talk about a game that perfectly marries gameplay and story. This does not. There's sort of two different games in one, but the puzzle is fantastic. It's fantastic. God, the puzzles are so good. So shout out Maquette, one of the best puzzle games we've played in years, and probably the best puzzle game we played this year, if we don't, if there wasn't the stuff we're going to talk about later. Anyway, moving on. At number 7 this year, but not released this year, is Metroid Fusion. This is yet another game in the Metroid series. This is one of the later ones in the series. This was actually the most recent one until Fusion came out a couple of years ago. Fusion I've still not played, so Fusion, for all I know, is the best one, and from what I've heard it is. But this one here is fantastic, and it really is sort of how do I put it? It sort of like deviates from what Metroid is. Every Metroid game is this lonely experience where you feel lost in this alien world, the feeling of being lost, the feeling of loneliness. Like, there are so many games that cite these games as the reason they are what they are. Metroid is hugely, hugely influential. And when this game starts, it comes up in bold letters, Metroid 4. It's called Metroid Fusion, but the developers considered this the fourth in the series, and it is a bit of a deviation. It is linear, and you're hearing Samus's thoughts a lot throughout the game. The series sort of lets you put yourself in the place of Samus. She doesn't have much of a personality. She's just like this badass bounty hunter. But this was the one. Throughout this game, whenever you're in these little elevator loading screens, you hear what she's thinking about. And my understanding is people who played this at the time when it came out like 15, 16 years ago were kind of divided on whether or not they want that. But for me, I loved this. It gave this series, I only discovered this year, really, a level of character and thus investment that I didn't really have in the others. Like, all of the other Metroids we played are incredible based on gameplay. But this is the first one where I got some narrative with my gameplay, and I loved it. She's a human being now. She's not just a woman who shoots things. She's a person with thoughts and feelings, and I really liked it. It's linear, which I thought I was going to hate. I had been prepared. Watch yourself. This is a linear experience. Like, I was ready for it to be linear. What I was not ready for is that it's like a horror game. I couldn't believe early on in the game, you meet this evil alien version of Samus called SAX. It's not 15 or 16 years ago, it's 24. This game's 24 years old, Vanilla. Oh my god. Right, well. This 24-year-old game, I did not have high hopes. I had been told it was linear. I had been told that it wasn't quite what the rest of the series is, so I did not have high hopes. But it's oppressive. You feel like you're being squashed. You're in a lot of little tight tunnels, and you're constantly being chased by this evil version of Samus called SAX, Samus Aran X, who's this bad version of you. And multiple times throughout the game, you just see her in the background wandering around doing things. And there's a tension to it I would never have expected from an old 2D Game Boy game. I was not ready for this. And the first time, about 2/3 through the game, where she turns around and looks at you and just starts running towards you, was scarier than most modern horror games. This is what I'm talking about right here. While you're in these elevators to go to the different areas, Samus speaks for the first time. And it's sort of, at first I was like, oh no, they're making her a person. But by the end of this, I was blown away. At the time I played this early in the year, I messaged my mate and said, this is the best game I've played this year. I loved Metroid Fusion. Great game, great time. Play Metroid Fusion. I mean, you could play any of the games that came in the 24 years after that, but play Metroid Fusion. It's great. Right. That's enough about Metroid, or is it? At number 6 this year, that did not release this year, is Astro Bot. This little guy right here, Astro Bot, is a bloody delight. This is a Game of the Year winner. Multiple places gave Astro Bot Game of the Year, and I was like, I'll be the judge of that. I love myself a 3D platformer, let's see. And it is fantastic. Endlessly creative is Astro Bot. One thing I was sort of, there's no, how do I put this? There's no character to Astro Bot, and that's going to sound a bit crazy, right? But all of the great 3D platformers are character based. You know Mario and Bowser. You know Sonic and Robotnik. Like Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter. All of the great 3D platformers are character based. Like that's one of the major selling points, is that you have these unique characters. And Astrobot doesn't have that at all. I could not, if my life depends on it, name you a single one of the bad guys in this game. They're generic alien blobs or whatever. Astrobot himself is, one of the worst designed characters ever. He is a generic little round robot man who you can dress up like other Sony characters. Like, in place of character, he's sort of like a front for you to dress up like. We dressed up like a Yharnam Knight from Bloodborne, as you can see there. But even though Astrobot is missing what I would consider the key part of what makes a 3D platformer, that's a massive negative to me. The gameplay, the world design, the level design more than makes up for that. This game, Astrobot, from last year before, won Game of the Year everywhere. And rightfully so. It has some of the most fun, intuitive, like, you constantly feel like you're in motion during the gameplay. The worlds are interesting. The collectibles, there aren't too many. Something that modern 3D platformers do is put too much. If you've played the modern Mario games, you'll know that Mario Odyssey, one of the biggest criticisms of Mario Odyssey is that there is simply too much. There's 30 to 40 to 50 collectibles. I've got two ties on, just in case you're wondering. I've got two ties on. There's like 30 to 40 to 50 collectibles in every level. Astrobot doesn't do that. It does like old school 3D platformers. There's a few collectibles in each level. They're fun to find. Some of them are puzzles. Some of them are platforming challenges, but all of them are interesting. And it helps that if you're an old school PlayStation gamer, a lot of the things you find in this game are characters from previous games. It's cool to be digging through the dirt and finding Solid Snake. It's cool to run up a big sword and find Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. Like, even though there is no character to the game, the world, the music, the enemies are fun enough and interesting enough that it carries it, but it is the level design that makes it. This could just be a blank canvas. Like, there could be no art. There could just be no art, and the level design is good enough to carry this into anyone's top 10. It is I would argue that Astrobot is a masterclass in 3D video game platforming. It is if you are going to make a 3D platformer, study this video game. It's unbelievable. It has clearly learned every lesson there is to learn from Mario 64 right through to the modern Ratchet and Clanks. It's unfathomably good level design, and I enjoyed every minute I played with it. Every video I've got of this game on YouTube is titled something like Astrobot blew my mind, or I am in love with Astrobot. I enjoyed every minute of this fantastic little video game. Anyway, moving on to the top 5 of games that didn't actually come out this year. At numero 5, I don't know what 5 is in Spanish. Numero 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it cinco? Someone who speaks Spanish tell me. At numero 5, Pyre. This is the first game that we've spoke about today that is a masterpiece. Pyre is a 10 out of 10 complete and utter masterpiece. This, when I first started making this list, this was number 1. Pyre is unbelievable. If you don't know, Pyre is, I love this sentence so much, Pyre is a religious basketball game. And I bought this the day it came out. Pyre is made by a company called Supergiant Games, and they made one of my favourite games called Bastion. They made a game called Bastion way back in the dawn of the Xbox 360 Online Arcade. They made a game called Bastion, and it was fantastic. So when they released Pyre, a religious basketball game, I bought it on release day. I bought it the day it came out, and it just sat there like loads of games do on my list. It just sat there for years and years and years, until one day I went, okay, it's finally time to play this. And holy shit, was I blown away. For those of you that don't know, this is the company who have gone on to have massive success with the games Hades and Hades 2. This company have now won Game of the Year in multiple places, thanks to Hades and Hades 2. They really blew up in the last few years with those games. But for me, this is by far and away their crowning achievement, their masterpiece. Let me just get started, right? One thing we talk about a lot is ludonarrative dissonance. The idea that the things you're doing in the game don't make sense with what you're actually supposed to be, the story, that there's a disconnect. This is like the exact opposite of that. Everything makes sense. Everything funnels towards the playing of basketball in a big religious tournament. And it's perfect. It's sort of hard to put into words, but you're a group of people who have joined a basketball tournament for your souls. And not only is the writing fantastic, the characters are so well fleshed out because of the writing that you really care. And so when it comes to actually choosing who you're going to have on your team during the basketball games, it's the first time I've played a game where I'm not choosing my team composition based on gameplay. Like, I wanted the big defender up front and one of the fast ones at the back. It's more like, I know that she knows someone on the team we're playing, and it would mean a lot to her if she could play in this game to show this person from her past that she's good. So it becomes this, you're making choices that will make the gameplay harder because you care so much narratively about what's going on. And everything you do matters. The choices you make in the story. Whether you win or lose in the games, you do not lose. There is no game over. If you lose any of the basketball games, you just progress on the game as the team that lost. It's endlessly fascinating. This is the first time, and it's going to happen again and again for the next however long we're talking here. This is the first time I wish I was smarter to have the proper words to describe how good a thing is. I feel like I cannot do justice to how well designed this game is. The music is beautiful. The art is cool. The gameplay is fantastic. I'm not a sports game guy, but this religious basketball game made me a massive basketball fan for the 12 to 15 hours I played it. It's a really, really special video game. And I don't replay games. My mission is to play all the games all the time. I want to just move on and get the next one over and over and over again. But the moment I finish this, I just restart and played through the whole game again. I adore this video game. It's one of the best things I've played in years. It's Supergiant's best game. Everything you do in the game matters. I adore it. I cannot get enough of this. Pyre is a 10 out of 10. This is the first game on the list that is a 10 out of 10. Absolutely beautiful video game. I could go on for hours about Pyre. I'm not going to because we've got things to do, but play Pyre. Please play Pyre. God, it's so good. Right, anyway, moving on. Like I said, yeah, you may be asking, a 10 out of 10, it's your 5th place, but this year has been fantastic. I'd argue every game after this on the list is a 10 out of 10. I really would. Which brings me to number 4. The last of these on the list. One of my favourite games of all time now. Super Metroid. This is a Metroid game that came out on the SNES, Super Nintendo, 32 years ago. It is extremely old. And in my process of playing through all the Metroids this year, I struggled with this game. I wanted to do the games in order that they came out. And when I got to the very first one, when I was playing Metroid Prime 1, basically universally the internet told me to play Metroid Zero Mission, the game that was number 10 on our list. It's a remake of 1, but better in every way. So I went and played it. It's basically all of the fans consider like, don't play the original, play the remake Zero Mission. But this one here, the crowning, you know, the game that people say is the best in the series, Super Metroid, does not have a remake. You can't go and play it with all of the nice modern controls like Zero Mission or Fusion had. I had to just go play a 32-year-old game. And I was banging my head against this game. I remember messaging my mate saying, this is too frustrating. Games don't play like this anymore, and it's for a good reason. I am frustrated playing this 32-year-old piece of software. It's driving me mad. And let me tell you, by the end of this game, I was convinced that this is the best game ever made. I reached a point about 10 hours in where it all just started to click into place. And I realised that I was playing an extremely special video game. There really is nothing like this. Obviously, we've got like 3 or 4 other Metroid games on the list, so like obviously there are actually other things like this. But Super Metroid specifically is one of the all-time greats. I'm so lucky to this year have gone through this series, because while the series is excellent, this is the pinnacle of it. That's right, if you're paying attention, this is the end of the Metroid. We're done with Metroid now. There's no more left Metroids on the list. This is it. This is the top one. Of all of the Metroids I played this year, Super Metroid, the oldest game I played on the list, 32 years old, is unbelievable. Yeah, the 2025 Metroid Awards are over. We played them all except Dread. I'm in the middle of Prime 3 on stream now, but Dread's the only other one I've not played. I played every game in the series, and this here, the 32-year-old Super Metroid, which is often, if you pay attention and you go to like, if you just Google what's the best games ever made, the same answers come up a lot. Ocarina of Time, Metal Gear Solid, this comes up a lot. Most times when IGNs or your big companies do their like, what's the best games ever made, Super Metroid is always in the top 5 or the top 3. Sometimes it's number 1. And it frustrated me that it frustrated me. I wanted to love this game that everyone loves. But playing a 32-year-old game, it felt like it had 32-year-old jank. I really struggled to like this game. And then one time it clicked, and the jank I had mastered. I had gotten over the learning curve, and now it really felt like that jank and that frustration was a part of the game. She is an alien in an alien world who does not understand this world and is struggling and is dying. It's a difficult video game. And by about halfway through, she was more powerful and I was better at the game, and it created this like perfect confluence of like relating to the main character of a game who doesn't speak, who has no dialogue, there is nothing. We grew together. And by the second half of the game, you are a badass. And it feels so good. Look at me just dying and dying in these spikes. It was rough. This game is truly one of the all-time greats. This is an infamous scene here. This is the room that teaches you how to jump. I had to Google this, and apparently loads of people Google this. These little things are teaching you how to wall jump. That's one of the things that sort of... One of the things that makes this game so special is you have all of your abilities right from the beginning. Well, not all of them, but you have most of your abilities right from the beginning. You just don't know it. And there's rooms like that where those little guys are bouncing on the walls to teach you that you can bounce on the walls. There's multiple rooms where little creatures in the world teach you how you can control the character. You're growing, not from beating the boss to pick up the boomerang, but from learning from the world. I could spend another hour just talking about Super Metroid. I won't, because it's one of the most talked about games there has ever been. You can go and find people who have done like 30-hour essays on Super Metroid, and rightfully so. This is the Metroid game. It's fucking fantastic. It is now one of the best games I've ever played in my life. I love it to death. I love it to death. Super Metroid. I love it to death. Moving on to the top 3 games we played this year that did not release this year. I've forgotten what's at number 3. Now I'm excited to see this. I can't remember what I put at number 3. At number 3. Oh, The Case of the Golden Idol. The Case of the Golden Idol is the second best puzzle game that has been released in the last 10 years. No spoilers for the best. But we played this on stream earlier this year, and I remember saying at the time, there is no way this is not my game of the year. If this is from my stream, you can't see it, but I'm back there. And by the time we finished this, I remember saying, the last line of my YouTube videos is, do not support me, go and support them. The Case of the Golden Idol is one of the cleverest, funniest, most intelligent video games there has ever been, ever. Like, it's a unique story about this little idol that can suck people's lives. It's weird, but the important part is the detective work. The way that the game makes you feel while you're playing it. The entire point of the game is you've got these little pages. One of them will pop up at some point, but you've got these pages and words are missing. And you've got to just basically talk to people, pick up items, look at them, study them, so that you can fill the words into the board. It's a simple process, and yet the way they do it, the way it's structured so that every puzzle is slightly different, is masterful. This is a one-trick pony, where that one trick is one of the coolest tricks ever, and somehow is redone in different ways and recontextualized in different ways 100 times by the end of the game. It really is a special experience, and I could feel that the people in the chat while we were playing it were feeling it too. We were collectively like, holy shit, this is really, really cool. There's something to be said about when gameplay can sort of further mystery. There's a mystery to the gameplay. You're constantly wondering and checking and moving things to try to understand it. And when the narrative is a well-written mystery and they combine together, there's this magic that happens. And Golden Idol has that magic from beginning to end. I'm not a DLC person. I don't really do DLC. I just like playing the main games and moving on. The moment we finished this, we went and bought all the DLC and did it all on stream. It is This is basically the whole game. If you see that screen there, you're taking the words you've learned and the images you've learned and trying to match them up. That is the whole game. But it's recontextualized over and over again in unique ways. It's just, I love puzzle games. I love mystery. I love solving. I love detective work. That's one of my favorite things in games. And this does that the best this year. Like, there is no question to me that if you are looking for a detective mystery on, like, there's the case of the Obra Dinn, is that the name? The something of the Obra Dinn? There's Obra Dinn. Is a similarly masterful put together game where the point is for you to take the visuals you're seeing and the words you understand and try to put them together into making the narrative. There is a return of the Obra Dinn, thank you. There is a real skill. Making games like this is not easy. Obviously, the actual like coding behind it, making a game like this physically is very easy. There's no interaction, there's no balls, there's no hitboxes, it's just moving text. But actually making a game like this good and satisfying and interesting is extremely difficult. And they perfected it. If there is one game I'm excited to play in 2026, it's the sequel to this. I found this game so good that I said I refused to play the sequel in the same year. I refused. So now that we're in 2026, I am going to play the sequel to this very soon. I adored this so much. And like we mentioned at the beginning, this was the first or second time this year that I said, this is my game of the year and there's no way anything's going to beat it. I said that a lot of times in the past year. And this was maybe the first. I think we played this in January. It was real early, and I was blown away. And when I came to do Game of the Year at the end of the year, I knew this was going to be high. God, I love it so much. I love it so, so much. It is so clever. If you've got even a remote interest in puzzles or mystery or clever narratives, you have to give this game a try. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I'm going to check my notes to see if I wrote anything about this that I've missed. I wrote that it's deduction perfection. That's a good phrase. I'm going to say that. It is deduction perfection. You have to think to beat this game in a way that's just so... God, I love it so much. Right, that's enough about you. That's enough about you. Moving on. We've got 2 games left that did not come out this year. And then we will move on to the top 10 of games that did actually come out this year. At number 2... God, I love this game so much. And even now, I still think, should this have been number 1? At number 2, Citizen Sleeper. I'm about to go off, so just stand back. Citizen Sleeper is... I mentioned to you, I'm frustrated that I'm not very verbose. I do not have a thesaurus-like vocabulary. So I'm going to repeat myself a lot saying this game's so special, or this game's amazing, or this game's blah, blah, blah. So you're likely going to hear me repeat a bunch of phrases. I'm so sorry. But this, it really is like no other video game there's ever been. Like, I saw the trailer for Citizen Sleeper 2 that came out this past year. Citizen Sleeper 2 is one of the 16 games we played this year that actually came out this year. And I decided it might be time to go play Citizen Sleeper 1. And then someone told me it's a visual novel. And I'm not a big fan of visual novels. And I almost entirely skipped this because of the words visual novel. I went, nah, I like real games, actually. No, thank you. I will forever replay these games, Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2. This year, trying to decide what the number 1 game on my list is, the list of games that didn't actually come out this year, I could not decide between 1 and 2. I kept switching 1 and 2 right up to the last minute when I decided this was number 2. But this was almost number 1. I've got a folder of games called my forever games. Games I will go back to for the rest of my life, and it only includes my absolute favourites. And this is now on that list. Citizen Sleeper does atmosphere like no other game. The entire premise of the game is that you work on a space station. You are a nobody on a shitty space station in a strange version of the world, which would never happen in real life, where authoritarianism sort of reigns, and your entire purpose is to just work yourself to the bone until you die. That is it. That is the goal for you. You will work until you die, and that is it. And you feel it. The majority of the game is you going to work every day. As you can see here, it looks dull, and it's on purpose. There is an entirely hopeless feeling to this game. This is a hopeless game about hope. The narrative of this game is about hope, about fighting back, about resistance, about how it's possible to do it. And the gameplay is this constantly pulling you down. You will work and you will work and you will fail. The characters and the narrative are arguably the best characters I've ever seen in any video game ever. I have never seen more fleshed out, believable human beings in a video game. Some of the people you meet in this game, I will remember forever like they're real people I met in real life. The narrative is the driving force of the game. You will spend your in-game days rolling these dice up the top. In this bland world, the developers have said themselves they made the choice to not have you actually in the world. They don't want you seeing the environments and looking at stuff. They want this. They want it to look dull. They want it to look simple. You will struggle. A huge part of the game is that you will fail a lot. This isn't one of those games where if you're really good at it, you can beat all the things. No, you will fail. You will try and try for multiple in-game days, and you just won't have enough money to pay your rent, so you'll lose the place. Or one of the narrative threads is this little girl wants to see her dad, but he can never stop working, or he can't feed her. So you try to help, and I think almost every possible outcome to that scenario is you make that family's life worse. It is difficult, and no game has made me feel like I am struggling like this video game. It's hard to put into words how much of a confluence of narrative and atmosphere. The music is fantastic. This might be the best music in any game this year. Like the entire thing, you know the phrase better than the sum of its parts. This is the embodiment of that. The entire whole of Citizen Sleeper is perfection. It is, yes, it is actually a visual novel. A lot of the game, you are just reading text. Recently, a friend of mine said, "What's the best book you've ever read?" And I said, Citizen Sleeper. There is so much reading to this video game, but it's one of the best written books. It's one of the best. You actually can't see it because the text's behind my camera, but it's an absurd amount of text to read. This is a book in video game form. It is so special to me. It is so unbelievably special to me, this game. And like I said, it was about to be the game of the year. It is, again, we talk about Ludo narrative dissonance a lot. This game has Ludo narrative cohesion. Like, it is the way the gameplay makes you feel hopeless, and the story is about hope. They marry together. It's perfect. It's perfect. You will struggle to feel more with a video game. If you want to feel this is the game. I can't even imagine what it took to go, I want to make a game that makes the player feel hopeless. I want them to keep coming back and keep feeling hopeless. I want them to struggle and lose and feel like it's hard. Most of the times in the game, you can't afford to eat. You can't afford to do anything. You are just getting by. And yet somehow it tells one of the best stories about hope and struggle I have ever seen. It's just unbelievable. You fail and you learn and you grow. It's fantastic. If I can recommend you one thing this year, well, it's not this, it's another thing that we'll get to later, but if I can recommend you two things, it's to play the Citizen Sleeper games, one of the most underrated, underappreciated games in the world. It's perfect. It's perfect. We are going to do the top 10 games of the year, like everyone else does, the 10 games that actually came out this year. We're going to get to that. But before that, we are doing the top 10 games that didn't release this year. You've seen 10 through 2. If you've heard me talk about the games I've played off stream, you will have heard me talk about this. One of the single best video games ever made. The number one game I played this year that did not actually come out this year is my beloved Hollow Knight. I have been told over the years by people who know me, there's a couple of them, but I've been told when you get to X, Y, or Z, it's going to be one of your favourite games ever made. I've been told that about a bunch of games I've never gotten to. And Hollow Knight is the number one on that list. I have had friends tell me for 7 years now. You're going to love everything about Hollow Knight, by the way, just so you know, just to prepare you. When you eventually get to Hollow Knight, it was the same with the case of the Golden Idol. It's still the case with Tunic. There are a handful of games that I've been told over and over again, just so you know, when you get there, it really is going to be one of your favourites ever. And I'm like, yeah, I'll be the judge of that. This year, after playing all of the Metroid games, I was still craving Metroidvania. And I messaged my mate, my game guru, and I said, what else? Give me a Metroidvania I've not played that I can sink my teeth into. And he said, Mr. Nero, sir, it is finally time that you play Hollow Knight. And I said, yeah, okay, fine. This is the best Metroidvania there has ever been. It learned every lesson from all of the other games we've talked about. I love that my top 10 tells a bit of a story because the Metroid series always learns from itself. Metroidvanias as a whole seem to, as a genre, really learn from themselves and grow on top of each other since the 70s. And this is the pinnacle of that. There is a very real possibility there will never be a better Metroidvania. Ever. It does not get better than this. They've obviously learned from Castlevania, from Metroid, they've learned from Software. This is a tiny development team who spent years making their passion project, and passion is the word. This feels like a passion project. Every moment of this game. You do not get the sense that a corporation said, actually, could you change, there's none of that. This feels like love went into this game in every single room that exists in the game. I was lucky enough to play a version that had all the DLCs called the Void Heart edition. And I ate this up. It started as a Flash game. No way, that's fascinating. One thing that I have talked about loads on this channel, one thing that I think divides gamers right down the middle, it splits you into two, even if you don't know whether you feel this or not, is whether or not you enjoy the feeling of being lost. And that's not actually like lost in an environment. It can be lost in not knowing what to do next. It could be lost in not knowing how to beat that boss you're stuck on or get past that level you're on. The feeling of being unclear of what your next objective is, no matter what, whether that's because of a puzzle or an environment or a massive map or a hard enemy. I love the feeling of being lost. That's my favorite thing in video games, is realizing in a moment, I have no idea what to do. I have no idea where to go. I am truly lost. And Metroidvanias, that's like a part of the whole thing, is when you're making a game like this, it's how much you want to make the player feel lost versus how much you want to help them. You help them too much, there's none of that feeling, and they're just sort of going along the path you give them. You don't help them enough. The players who don't like feeling lost will get frustrated and leave. This game leans all the way in to making you feel lost. Be that narratively, where even by the end of the game, you still don't really know what the story was. But mostly that's actually physically on this massive, ever-sprawling map that never seems to end. You are constantly lost. You're constantly asking, where do I go next? I'm not actually sure where I'm supposed to go. The game is designed in such a way that you can go any direction and you'll experience something that gives you a new ability or a new understanding or a new perspective, or you'll flick a switch miles over this side of the map that you realise, oh my god, that's just turned on the thing on the other side of it. And now you can go all the way back there, but on the way back there you'll meet a guy who says that you got to go do this thing, and now suddenly there's multiple. It's the feeling of being lost is something game developers have talked about and written about for decades, how hard that is to reproduce, how fine a line that is, because you do not want the players of your game to feel frustrated. You do not want them to get mad that they don't understand what your game is. That's the last thing you want. And this game toes that line fucking masterfully. It's unbelievable how well this game deals with whether or not you feel empowered or not. It's just, again, I wish I had the words. I wish I knew the words for how special Hollow Knight is. It's unbelievable. Another thing that makes the game so special is the audio. There are so many unique sound cues. Everything that you can interact with, every character you can talk to, every breakable wall, everything has a unique sound effect that you can hear from the room next door. If the map guy, the guy that sells you maps, is in a room and you're in any of the adjoining rooms, you'll quietly hear him humming. Just really quiet. And then when you enter the room, his humming gets louder. If there is a secret breakable wall, the room you are in will sound slightly hollower. There will be a hollow noise to the knocking, or the even when you're fighting the enemies, there will be like a hollow layer to the sound effects if that room has a breakable wall. Every single facet of the game is told to you without telling you by the audio. It truly is the culmination of decades of learnings from Metroidvanias. They are obviously studies of the art. I imagine if we could talk to Team Cherry, they would say they listened to hundreds of talks from game developers to learn how to make what I consider the perfect Metroidvania. I've said it before, 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, I'll say it again right now. I'm not sure there will ever be a better Metroidvania than this game. Obviously, I've not played Silksong yet, so maybe it already exists. But given how much I loved this, it might be another 7 years before I play Silksong. I do not want to spoil this. I will remember this game fondly till the day I die. I don't want to, knowing how long it takes them to make games, I don't want to just jump straight into Silk Song and that's it. I've played all the Team Cherry games. It's over. I'm likely going to wait years to do Silk Song, just purely based on how special this game is. It's got narrative lessons learned from the way From Software does narrative. It's got gameplay lessons learned from all the Metroidvanias of the past into this confluence of perfect Metroidvania, perfect map exploration. The art is amazing. The bosses are amazing. The music is one of the best soundtracks in video games ever. You have to play. You have to play Hollow Knight. You just fucking have to. It's perfect. It's perfect. And it was made by like 2 or 3 people. It's unbelievable. It does not deserve to be this good. It does not deserve to be this good. I'll remember this game till the day I die. I fucking love this video game. Right, Hollow Knight, that's enough of you. Get away. Get away. That is enough of you. There it is. The top 10 games I played this year that did not actually come out this year. There they are. Now, on to what everyone's actually here for. If you have come later and you've skipped ahead to see the actual top 10, welcome in. Welcome in. Welcome in. We're doing the top 10 of games that came out this year like everyone else does. I mentioned at the beginning, I'll say it again. Let's clear the page. Let's clear the page here. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this because we're on actual games that came out this year now. Welcome in. We're doing the top 10 of games that actually came out this year. I played 16 games that came out this year. So making this top 10 actually wasn't as difficult as making the one we just went through. Making this top 10 was slightly easier, purely because I only had to score off 6 of them and then reorder the other 10. And yet somehow when I came to actually making this 10, I really struggled. Hello y'all, welcome in. Welcome in. I really struggled to make this top 10. Way more than I did with the 10 of games that didn't come out this year. Way more than I did with last year's rankings. I really struggled here. It took me a long time to decide the order and what I wanted. And most importantly, going through this made me appreciate just how incredible a year this has been for video games. Like, it really is hard to put into words. 2025 is the best year for video games there has ever been. Like, it really is the best year for video games there has ever been. And that's not a joke. It's absurd. It was a fantastic year. Not to even mention the fact that I played some of the all-time greats from throughout history. So it's like, for me, there's no question 2025 has been the single best year I've ever had for video games. Anyway, shall we bloody get on with it? The top 10 games I played this year that actually did come out this year. At number 10. The 10th best game I played this year that actually came out this year is Ball Pit. Every year, I lose a lot of time to a roguelite that eats up my time. I've started to resent games like this for how much of my time they eat up. Ball Pit is a game that has gobbled up my time like no other. There is a level of frustration I've started having over the last few years with games like this because I'll realise in a blink of an eye I've played 100 hours of the game. And this year, that happened no more than with Ball Pit. This gobbled my time away. I could not believe how much fun I was having. The thing about Ball Pit that makes it so special is it's a game about like merging and combining things, and I mean that on so many different levels. Like, the actual game itself is the combination of Brick Breaker, which is one of the oldest game genres ever. One of the first games ever made was a Brick Breaker. You're shooting the balls to the things at the top. This is one of the oldest genres that has ever existed. Mixed with the most modern, trendy genre that everyone loves, the roguelike. But on top of that, the actual gameplay itself is a mixture of half of the time you're playing the game and half of the time you're doing like a city builder. And they combine well. And not only that, as you just saw here, the actual gameplay itself, the moment to moment, is about you combining these balls to make new balls. There is obviously an intent here for the game to be about combining and merging things, and that actually, if you beat the game, plays into the narrative quite well. Because at the end of the game, there's a merging. The whole thing is about merging. It's cool. The addictive nature of this is quite unique. In the modern times, I don't really know how to word it, but in the modern times, there are games that sort of play themselves. Auto battlers have become really popular in the last few years. The auto battler, where you'll set things up and then you'll just take your hands off and watch the gameplay play itself. And maybe in between rounds, you get to go in, set things up, and it'll go and play itself. There are games like Vampire Survivors and what's it called, Mega Bonk, where you're dangerously close to not actually playing the game. It sort of plays itself. And I found myself thinking that while I was playing this. This is probably the game I played most whilst sitting on my phone doing something else. Ball Pit is dangerously close to just playing itself, and you just get to watch. And somehow I just kept going back to it every day, looking for new combinations of balls I hadn't found. I was constantly in the menus going, oh, it says that there's one sticky ball I haven't combined. Okay, I'm going to have to get the sticky ball and try every other ball in the game to find the right combo. And then finally you do make the right combo, and it makes the like laser beams from heaven. And suddenly you're just wiping out screen after screen of enemy. There is endless fun to be had in this game that basically just plays itself. It's so uncomplex. It's so, whereas a lot of the games we played this year are layers on top of layers on top of layers of you having to understand and comprehend. Ball Pit is the exact opposite. You just put it on, you combine the balls, you have an incredible amount of fun. It is fantastic. It is fantastic. This is the type of game that you only stop playing when you manage to pull yourself away. It's not like you beat the credits and you go, oh, we've seen the credits, that's nice, let's move on. You have to pull yourself away from games like this, or you'll just sit and play them forever, which I almost did. I almost lost an entire month to Ball Pit. So Ball Pit, probably the simplest game we played this year. Congratulations, number 10, you were incredibly fun. I'll probably never play you again because you're too addictive. Ball Pit is crack cocaine. In fact, don't play Ball Pit. It's too dangerous. Just don't play it. It's too dangerous. Just don't bother. Okay. Yeah, don't let the kids see it. Don't let the kids see Ball Pit. It's too dangerous. Anyway, moving on. The number 9 game we played this year. Hurdling. I have an extreme soft spot for games like this. A game you can just sit and beat in one sitting. A game that doesn't ask too much of you. And Hurdling was the exact thing I needed at the right time when we played this. We played this whole thing on stream in one sitting. It is an extremely simple game about herding a bunch of little animals through a map. It's so simple, it's so basic, it's so heartfelt. I found myself, as the year went on, one thing that I find quite interesting about video games is that as time passes, my thoughts on them can change. Maybe I'll enjoy a game and then a year later I'll be like, you know what, that was actually a bit more frustrating than I remember. Or alternatively, I'll play a game and a year later I'll find that I'm still thinking about it. It's still whittling away, reminding me, remember how special that was? And this is an example of that second one. We played hurdling on stream in one afternoon. The time just passed. It was fun. We moved on. And ever since then, I find myself thinking about it. I find myself going back and being like, God, remember how good hurdling was? There's a moment in the game, you're actually seeing it here on stream, where the game turns into a horror game. And you've got to protect your herd from these truly terrifying owl creatures. You can see them. There's one in the background there, just vague through the fog. It's probably the most horror experience I had this entire year. It was probably the scariest moment of all the games we played this year, is this scene in this game. It was terrifying. But you see it just sitting right there. Little shit. Terrifying little shit. God, this game is terrifying. Besides that, it is mostly just a beautiful game about surviving, about getting by. It has the same feeling that what we just talked about in the other game, in the other top 10, with Hollow Knight and with Citizen Sleeper, where as you're playing it, you get the feeling that the developers really care. Like, this is something I've been able to pick up on over years of playing games, and then I went to uni and studied game. This is my whole life, is following this shit. I love this. And I've found that over the years, I've developed the skill, whether or not I'm actually accurate or not. I've developed the skill where I feel like I can tell that a developer is really passionate about the project they're making. And this felt like it had that passion. It's such a simple game. There's only 2 buttons. You're moving around and you're clicking where you want your little herds to go. But the fact that you get to name the herd, we named it after the chat, obviously, classic streamer behavior. We named all our herd after the chat. It really made them feel special. And we didn't lose any of the herd. So, but apparently you can. Apparently it's possible to get to the end with only one of your little creatures, which I can't fathom. Imagine losing the other 12. That's awful. But apparently, yeah, you can lose them throughout the game just from them falling off the edge or getting spiked or getting eaten by this monstrosity. I just love that. I love a game that you can beat in one sitting, that you can... Something that has been on this list quite a few times on the previous top 10 and now here is games that have absolutely no dialogue, no writing, no obvious narrative. I mean, all of the Metroid games are like that. There is something powerful about your entire narrative being in the world. The objects in the world, the things you're seeing, the things you're hearing, paint in the picture rather than actual text just telling you the story. And I think this might be the best that is done this year. There's not a word spoken in this game. In fact, it's the second best it's done this year, and we'll get to the first later. But it is a theme through the games I played this year that you do not need text. You do not need a quirky sidekick telling you where to go or what to do. If your world is designed well, if the art is pointed, you can navigate these worlds and feel empowered without being told where to go or what to feel. In this game, that's done in loads of different ways. The wind blows the direction you're going. The music picks up as you're facing the right direction. Specifically here, you'll see that the horns of the creatures change colour based on whether you're charging or there's danger nearby or you're going in the direction you're supposed to be going. These are lessons game developers use to teach you things without you even realising you're being taught something. You'll learn these lessons and not even realise you've learned. Oh, their horns go blue when they're moving. You might not actually cognitively fully realise you're doing that, but you'll see the blue and you'll feel, oh, something good's happening. It's a part of the magic of video games. in this tiny little experience about herding a bunch of cattle around the... I mean, we named them some dumb stuff. And we almost let one of them bleed out. Yeah, chat have pointed out that we almost killed one of them. That is true. Yep. But he didn't die. They all survived, and we got to the end, and we saw the lovely ending. Herdling, number 9, a really special little game. A perfect example of one of the things I love about video games is that you can make these tiny little projects from developers that care that will stick with players like me for years to come. Herdling, beautiful video game. Moving on. At number 8 of all of the games that came out in 2025. Mario Kart World. Everyone loves comfort food. Everyone has a food that when they're feeling shit, they go eat. For me, it's pizza or chocolate. For you, it could be God knows what. Crack cocaine, who knows? But the video game equivalent of comfort food is Mario Kart World. I love Mario Kart to death, and I have since I was 5 years old. My understanding is that fans are mad that this game isn't good, which is absurd to me. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm not smart enough to understand why this is bad. But we had Mario Kart 8 for 13 years. It was 13 years between Mario Karts. And then finally, they released Mario Kart World. And I just love it. There's no narrative. There's no campaign. You can't, roll credits. There's no puzzles to solve. There's no character development. You're just racing a little cart around while music from the entire history of Mario plays, like every other Mario Kart before it. And yet, I love it. I cannot get over how simple and pure magic Mario Kart is. There may be no simpler experience in game. You just drive around and shoot shells at the other cartoon characters. There's no real depth here that I know. I'm sure there's people who play this online who are talking about the depth, the real character stat depth. But for me, this is just a children's cartoon about racing a little car, about vrooming around a little track as a cow, or as I mostly am, as Toad. It really is comfort food for me. I don't have a lot to say. We're not going to be here long. It's just this feeling of comfort. I have been playing Mario Kart since I was 5. And back then it was ugly and basic, and now it's beautiful and still just as basic. The formula has never really changed. I'll play Mario Kart until the day I die. No matter what Nintendo do, I will buy the next Mario Kart and I will race around these tracks and I'll listen to the music in the background and I'll smile and I will think Mario Kart is just pure magic. Any comments on the intermission tracks? Oh, that's a great point. I'm glad you pointed that out. The one thing I don't necessarily love about the game, but at the same time, what you're seeing here is the example we're talking about. If you're doing one of the cups in game, the first lap of every race is the drive between them. Because Mario Kart World is set on an open world, lap 1 of each race is the drive out of the previous race and to the next one. And then laps 2 and 3 and maybe 4 are the actual track. But yes, for the first time, you're driving between the tracks. And I actually find it quite the part of me that loves when developers mix it up a bit is there. The first time I did this, I was like, oh, this is cool, this is unique, this is new. But at the same time, I really do feel a bit like frustrated by it sometimes. There is a little bit of like, I wish I could just do the tracks like Mario Kart always had. So I'm sort of in the middle because I love when developers try something new, especially in a series like this that has existed for decade. Mario Kart, what? The first Mario Kart was 35 years ago, something like that. This has existed for a long time, so I love that they added it. But at the same time, I dislike how it feels sometimes. Sometimes it feels like you're only getting one lap of your favourite track because the laps before it were the drive to it. I find it kind of frustrating. Of course, that's only in the cups. If you queue for individual tracks, you don't have to do the drive between them. You can just do the track. But yeah, the cups is where most people play the games. And in this case, the cups include a lot of driving between tracks. So yeah, it's complex. I like it. I don't like it. I find that even if Mario Kart had something I really didn't like, I'd be able to overlook it because of just how much nostalgia these games give me. Like I said, I'll always play Mario Kart. I'll always love Mario Kart. It is the most simple game on the planet. You vroom vroom the cart. You hold down A until you finish the race. That is it. There is no depth. And I love it for that. I love it for that. Anyway, that's enough talking about cows with bananas. We're moving on to number 7 for 2025. I can't remember what this is. Let's have a look. Elden Ring Night Rain. Do not get me started on From Software. I could talk. This video would be 4 or 5 hours longer if I really got in depth about what I think about From Software. I love From Software, and they're probably the best game development team in the world right now. So, when this first got announced, my absolute love of From Software obviously kicked in. They're making a new From Software game. Oh my god, it's going to be amazing. It's set in the Elden Ring world. Oh, it's going to be amazing. But then they announced that it's their version of Warzone. It's a battle royale with an ever-closing circle where you've got to go collect your guns and your weapons and beat the enemy. Obviously, you're not playing against other players, but it's multiplayer. You play with friends, racing against the ever-closing circle. So not only was my passion for From Software ignited, oh, it's happening, but my love, as we just talked about a bunch of times today, my love for when a developer reaches outside of their box. When a developer says, I'm going to do something new, I'm going to try something new. But one of my favourite things in the world is when a dev has been making platformers for 15 years, decides to make like an open world first person shooter. Or when a dev who has only made Call of Duty clones decides they're going to make a narrative heavy game about loss. I really find it appealing when a developer reaches outside their comfort zone. So when my beloved From Software said, we're going to reach outside our comfort zone, my expectations shot through the roof. And by all accounts, they succeeded. Elden Ring Night Rain is what if we just took Elden Ring and Call of Duty Warzone and just sort of smooshed them together into one product. And my journey with this has been quite interesting because when it first came out, I absolutely loved it. And then after a month or two, I was like, okay, this wasn't super for me. I had great fun playing it, but it will never be as high as the single player From Software games for me. And that's still the case. I would definitely play the single players before I play this again, for sure. But a few months ago, I couldn't decide what I wanted to play, and I just sort of put this on my own, started playing single player, without any shout out, of course, to Mar and Spirit Weasel, who I played this with. In this video, I believe I'm playing with Mar and Spirit Weasel. I I started playing on my own a few months ago. Just wanted to jump back in, see what had changed, see what was new, and just see if I could solo any of the missions. And that's when it started to click into place just how like cleverly designed this game is. This isn't just a From Software game with multiplayer tacked on. This isn't just a From Software game with a closing circle on the map. It is so much more than the sum of its parts. This is a bunch of different game genres formed into one, and it includes that From Software jank. This is something we talked about loads on the stream over the past year. Like, From Software games are janky. There's loads they could improve. There's loads From Software could do better. It's just that the things that they do well, they do better than anyone else does it. There is a pure magic to what From Software do, and to seeing them reach outside their comfort zone and still find that magic, it's like one of the coolest experiences ever. I could feel it in my soul. I was like, this is pure magic. Like, I'm already a From Software fanboy, so this could have been a lot worse and I'd still love it. But the fact that they found a unique rhythm that doesn't feel like anything else. This doesn't feel like you're playing Fortnite or Warzone. It doesn't feel like you're playing Elden Ring. It feels like Night Rain, and nothing else on earth feels like Night Rain. It's pure magic. I wish I had better words for it. It's so cool. As somebody who does not enjoy multiplayer games, that doesn't really like playing with others, I somehow found myself endlessly enjoying playing Elden Ring Night Rain, and I think I'll go back to Night Rain forever. Unless From Software make another multiplayer game like this, but I don't think they will. They keep going back and updating this. My feelings on it changed over the years. It went up and down over the year. But I've come to the conclusion at the end of the year that Night Rain is something really special and might show an exciting future from the single best game developer that exists in the world right now, that being From Software. So massive bloody shout out to Night Rain. At number 6 for 2025, we have Silent Hill F. Silent Hill F was worrisome, to say the least. I've been a fan of Silent Hill since Silent Hill 1. And I'd say that Silent Hill 2 is the most important game in my life. I wrote about Silent Hill 2 at high school. We had to write a project about something we loved, and I wrote about, while other people were writing about their families or becoming a fireman or whatever, I wrote about the narrative of Silent Hill 2. And then when I went to college, we had to write about some piece of software. We had to spend time writing about software, any piece of software. And I wrote about Silent Hill 2. And then at uni, I went to uni for game development. So there was a lot of talk and writing about video games. And a lot of the things I wrote about were either directly about Silent Hill 2 or referencing Silent Hill 2. The game is incredibly important to my development as somebody who has become obsessed with video games, as somebody who loves this art, who eventually went to work in the games industry for a few years. Silent Hill 2 is an essential part of my growth and understanding of how special video games can be. And to this day, I still hold Silent Hill 2 as like the high point of narrative in video games. So to say that F had a lot of expectations put on it by me is a pretty, it's an understatement. Luckily for F, it came after, I think we're maybe talking 13 or 14 years of fucking terrible Silent Hill games. It has been 21 years, 22 now, since the last good Silent Hill, that being 4. Every Silent Hill game that has come out in the last 2 decades has been rubbish. To be nice, I know there are fans of Downpour. I know there are fans of Homecoming. but Silent Hill has been rubbish for decades. So while 2 means the world to me, the series has taken a massive dip in quality. So F sort of had the benefit of the doubt, because as long as it's better than any from the last 20 years, that's a plus. And it turned out to be a complete return to form. I'll never say that this is better than 2 or 1 or 3, but Silent Hill F now comfortably sits in that collection of excellent Silent Hill horror games. I am confidently happy to say that they are back. F is so good. And something that does not happen very often, we talked about it earlier today with another game, but Silent Hill F is one of the very, very few games where I beat it and I immediately started it again. The moment the credits finish rolling, this never happens to me. I so rarely want to replay a game. It never happens to me. I just want to, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? But with F, I beat it and I went, we've got to play the whole thing again. And I ended up playing through Silent Hill F 4 times. It might actually be 5. But I played this game an unbelievable number of times, and I found myself every time, because the game is built that way. The game is actually, some might say it's a negative, but Silent Hill F is designed to be played multiple times. If you beat, no spoilers, but only right at the end of the credits of your first playthrough do you get a tiny glimpse of what's actually going on. You get a tiny peek behind the curtain after the credits of playthrough 1. And then in playthroughs 2, 3, and 4, you actually get to see what's really going on. The game is designed purposely to be played multiple times. It's kind of unbelievable how good it is. Like, it is just another survival horror game. You're getting keys, you're fighting zombies, you're hoarding resources and hoping you've got enough health just to get by. It's not breaking new ground. There's nothing new here. You've seen everything that Silent Hill F does in other horror games, and Resident Evil and Silent Hill, you've seen it all before. But the way it pulls it all together and tells a really good narrative about what it's like to have family expectations, to be a woman in the modern world, to be a young girl who wants to grow, to exist in a time where these things weren't even really addressed for women. It's an excellent story told in a genuinely scary piece of media. So Silent Hill F, which was originally number 2 on this list before it slowly started getting bumped down as I really started thinking about what all these games mean to me. Silent Hill F, a massive return to form for a series that means a great deal to me. And this makes me unbelievably excited to see what's next for Silent Hill. I cannot wait. Massive shout out to Silent Hill F. Even some of the stuff you've seen here is kind of spoilery. Let's get this off the screen. Let's get out of here. You don't waste this for the people. It's special. It's too special to be wasted on my bloody stream. At number 5. What did we say this was? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At numero 5. Keeper. Bloody Keeper. This one is really special to me. I had my eye on this for years because this is made by Double Fine. Double Fine is a studio started by Tim Schafer, and they made what I often cite as my all-time favorite game is a game called Psychonauts. A game that essentially changed my understanding of video games and life is a game called Psychonauts. Any given day, I'll tell you it's the single most important game in the world to me. So anything Double Fine do, I'm immediately going to pay attention. They've made a bunch of smaller games. They've sort of made their fame out of making much smaller games. They made Stacking, they made Costume Quest, they've made a bunch of tiny little games that only take a few hours to beat. And Keeper is no exception to that. This year they released Keeper, which is a 3 or 4 hour game about being a lighthouse. That's the whole game. You're a little lighthouse and you walk around, you shine your little light. This is another game. Earlier when we mentioned Herdling, and I was saying this is the best example of a game with no text and no information. It was the second best because this was the best. Keeper perfectly tells a story about community, about how important it is to have a community and stay in touch with people, and how important it is for your experiences to be shared and not be spent alone. And it's told through you playing as a fucking walking lighthouse. It's so weird. It's unbelievably weird. And it's a story that could never be done anywhere else. Keeper is the perfect example of why video games are so special. This could only happen in a video game. There's no book, no movie, no TV show that could do what Keeper does. This is a pure gameplay experience about what it's like to experience things with others. That every area of the game has something unique to say about community if you're willing to pay attention, if you're willing to listen. The way all the robots in this little town interact with each other, the way that your creature that lives on you, that's the whole game, is there's a little bird that lives on you as you walk around as a lighthouse. It is magic. Now, I'm one of these people that believes that if someone tells you there is a spoiler, that in itself is a spoiler. So I hate to do this, but I will not spoil for you the incredible stuff that happens in the second half of this game. But suffice to say, the second half of this game is something I really wish I could talk about. The reason this game is on the list, and for a while it was at 2 or 3 on the list, is because the second half of the game makes you realise that the entire first half was a setup for what's going on in the second half. It's really, really fucking special. I reckon if I could recommend to you to sit and play one experience from start to finish of all the games we talk about today, it would be Keeper. It's maybe 4 hours long, 5 hours at most. And by about halfway through it, I was actually kind of disappointed. It's very simple. You walk around as a little lighthouse, and yes, the art is incredible, and yes, the music is beautiful, but it's basic. You are walking around as this little tower that wobbles in this weird world that doesn't make any sense. Just sort of interacting with little bits. There was nothing new. There's nothing exceptional. And I was a little disappointed, just a little disappointed with what I was experiencing. And then the second half of the game happened. And it just consistently evolved and changed and blew my mind. And by the time I finished it, I remember I phoned my partner. She wasn't home. And I phoned her and I said, I just played something really, really unique. I just experienced something really different from anything I've ever experienced before in video games. There will be no spoilers and therefore no great depth and detail I can go into about the reason I love this so much. But just go and experience it. Just go experience this game. It is so cool, and it has a really deep, cool meaning about what it means to experience life with other people. It's fucking magic. Anyway, I can't talk about why I love it so much without spoiling it, and I refuse to spoil this game for anybody, so let's move on. Okay, we got 4 games left. I hope everyone's still awake. I hope everyone's still here listening to me ramble. Okay, at number 4. The most visually beautiful game we played this year. One of the most visually beautiful games that has ever been made. South of Midnight. South of Midnight came out this year. And I don't even know where to start. I'll start with the negative. The gameplay is extremely basic. You've played this game 100 times. You run around, you jump on stuff. The combat is extremely 3D action game combat. You hit the button to attack the enemies. It is extremely basic. And if you were a pure gameplay person, like I am, a lot of the time, you could just write this off as another 3D game, another just 3D adventure game where you play as a main character and you run around the world. And I almost did. I almost didn't put this on the top 10 until I really started to think about it. The things that make this game special are just slightly below the surface. Well, besides the obvious art. The art of this game is kind of unlike any other game ever. It's low frame rate, low poly. I'm not an art person. I cannot put into words what makes this game uniquely beautiful. But this is the most beautiful game that came out this year, and it might be the most beautiful game that has come out in years. It's the character models, the world design, everything about the way the game visually looks is like nothing you've seen before. It's actually fantastic. These videos are not doing it justice. I find that none of the videos I could find on YouTube of people playing this game do justice to how special the game looks visually. There's just a magic to the visuals. I'd love to go and learn about how the developers did it, because there's really nothing like it. Visually speaking. It's special. It's really special. Again, it's one of these things I just wish I had the words for. There's something so cool about the way it looks. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, so Marin Chat here has said it's worth pointing out that the game actually looks like it's lagging. Like, when you're playing it, it can actually look like there's lag. But it's an artistic design choice. The game is supposed to look like stop motion. Like claymation, almost. Like there really is a purposeful design choice to make the game look the way it does, and it's masterful. Make more games that look like this. Which brings me to the music. They invented instruments for this game. That's something I learned. The developers cared so much about making this sound authentic that they actually went to the deep south of the US. They went to Haiti. They went to a bunch of different places in the world where this culture, the game is about culture, exists. And they asked them to play music for them. They asked them to teach them about music, the history of the music from these countries, from these parts of the world. And in doing that, they invented a bunch of instruments. They took old pots from old ladies' houses. They took old guitars that had been built back when black people didn't have any rights. They took instruments and quilts and items that belong to families that have been through some of the most hardships in the world, and they made instruments out of them. And as a result, this game has the most unique soundtrack that might exist in any game. The sounds you hear in this game are not like sounds you've ever heard ever in your life. It's actually kind of unbelievable. And the reason that the music all comes together so well is that if you pay attention, the lyrics in all of the songs are about what you are doing. There was a point during the second boss fight where I realised that the person in the song was singing about the fight. They were specifically talking about the skin on the boss and the attacks I was doing. The entire narrative of the game can be gained from listening to the soundtrack. The soundtrack to this game is like an audiobook, because all of the songs are describing the events of the game in this really authentic, southern Haitian incredible mix of instruments that have existed for hundreds of years and brand new instruments that were made. The gameplay is so basic, and that does not matter at all, because the characters, the art, the music drive what ends up being, as a whole, quite a unique experience. The narrative does not stick the landing in the end. I feel like this was the first half of a bigger story. This is probably the one game we played this year that I am desperate for a sequel. But the smaller parts, the music, the art, the character designs, the writing, the dialogue, it was magic. It's magic. It really is magic. It feels like you're playing. I've seen someone in the chat here. Mar has written the words nursery rhyme. A nursery rhyme that was meant to scare kids. Yeah. It feels like you are playing a series of nursery rhymes, because the game was made by people who went and listened to stories from people who were there. History passed down in culture like this is hard to put into words. It's hard to put into art. You really have to live it and feel it to experience it. And I find that culture and history are not something that is done well in video games. It's not something. So many video games are set in the future or in space or in modern times. There are not a lot of games that try to really get into what history and culture is like for groups of people. And this is the best example of that. This is the character study for games about culture. It is fantastic. I recommend playing it or watching a playthrough, because like I said, the gameplay is the worst part. I strongly recommend this game. I love this game. I will listen to the soundtrack till the day I die. South of Midnight. At number 3. I'm sorry. I think this is going to annoy some people. At number 3. The World's Beloved. Claire Obscure Expedition 33. I am not going to linger here long. If you exist in video games, you've heard about this game. This is the game people are talking about. This is the game on everyone's lips. This game has won more awards than any previous game ever. This is the game everyone's talking about. This is the game of the year fucking everywhere. And I love it. It does everything right. But when they won Game of the Year, the director of the game got on stage, and the first thing he did was thanked Hironobu Sakaguchi, the creator of Final Fantasy. This is a love letter to Final Fantasy. The team have talked for years about how important Final Fantasy is to them. And if you know me, you know that Final Fantasy is the most important series in the world to me. Final Fantasy is the best video game series that has ever come. So I'm already putting this game against an extremely high bar for me. And by most accounts, it hit that bar. It has the characters you love. It has, I'd argue, it has better writing than Final Fantasy. This is one of the best written games ever. It's fantastic. The characters are heartfelt. This game will make you cry. The gameplay, for me, lets it down a little bit. There's some confusion. There's too many abilities in some areas, and some of the other areas there's too little. I know some people feel like this game is beyond criticism, but for me, there's definitely weakness in the gameplay department. But that does not take away from the fact that there is a heartfelt story here from a team, we'll talk about it again, passion. The team that made this are fucking passionate about video games. Their heart and soul was poured into this, and you can feel it. But as somebody who has a deep love, a deep understanding and appreciation of Final Fantasy, I was comparing this to an all-time great, something I've grown up with. And as a result, there's a bit of me that feels like, yeah, they got there. They got there. I find that there will be no spoilers here, but there is a major moment in the game that changes everything. And to say that that moment is divisive among the fans is fair to say. There's people who like it, people who don't like it. I sort of find that it's not done great. I love it. I actually really like what happens in the last third of this game. It's interesting, it's unique, it's fun. I'm a big fan. But it could have been done better. And this is me being really nitpicky and negative because I love it. Please don't get me wrong. This is one of the best RPGs there has been in decades. It's fantastic. And everything this dev makes from now on, I will be there day one. They have sold me for life. The characters feel like real people. The narrative feels like it's really happening. You feel connected emotionally to the people in the game. But to me, there are a few things that hold it back. And I do not see this as one of those all-time greats. I feel like whatever they make next will shine. I think this is them walking so that their next game they can run. I love this, but any of the major Final Fantasies, it is not. And because of that, I think because I'm such a huge fan of Final Fantasy, this does feel like less than. It feels slightly less than, despite being so heartfelt and special. That one thing I should point out is this is the most French game ever made, and I love that. The developers are French, the studio's in France, and as a result, their culture came through. We talked about culture with a few other games. Obviously, we talked about it a lot there with South of Midnight. But the French culture seeps through this game in a way that I love. So many modern video games are made in America, or they're made in the UK. And there's sort of a baseline for what that means in terms of culture. So when a game comes out that's not from there, you can feel it. Canada too, yeah, a lot of games are made in Canada, yeah, maybe more so than Britain actually. And that creates a sort of sterility to the way games feel, because culture in all those places is quite similar. So when a game like South of Midnight comes out, or a game like Expedition 33 comes out, where the enemy design is uniquely different because of culture. The same can be said for Wushang and Wukong, which are games that have come out of China, a place you don't get a lot of games. We get plenty of games from Japan, but we do not get a lot of games from China. I have become a big fan of games from places that don't usually make games, and you do not usually get games from France. And that's a big plus for this game. There is a unique Frenchness to it that feels special. Obviously, the voice acting is some of the best voice acting in any game there has ever been. This might be the best voice acting ever, maybe. I'm probably wrong. But this is the very top tier of voice acting. Characters that are beloved, mechanics that are cool, if a little bloated and weird with the gameplay mechanics. A villain that matters, that feels, that you relate to, that you hate, that you love. There is a lot to love here. There is a lot to love, and because of that, it is the third best game that came out this year. But not number one, as I'm sure the fans of this will rally against. Okay, this is it. We got two left. We got two left. You know what they are if you've been paying attention. You know what they are. At number 2, the first time I sobbed this year, the first time I cried and cried and cried at a video game was playing Citizen Sleeper 2. Basically, if you've noticed now, that Citizen Sleeper 1 was number 2 on the top 10 for the previous year's games, and Citizen Sleeper 2 is number 2 on the games that came out this year, and it was very close to being number 1 for a while. While Citizen Sleeper 1 was a game about hope, and you felt hopeless, 2 is a game that wants you to feel under pressure. The entire premise of the first game was for you to feel hopeless, so they could teach you a story about hope, so that by the time you're at the end of the game, you've been pulled out of that hopelessness and you feel it. 2 is a game about feeling like you're under pressure, like you're constantly being chased. That's one of the things in the game. You are constantly being chased. The first game takes place on a single space station in this massive, sad space that is controlled by authoritarianism and war and people being played against each other. In the second game that takes place in that exact same world, you have a little crew. You have a ship that you've got to manage. You've got to manage that ship, you've got to manage your crew, and you've got to just survive. You're flying from different space stations, taking odd jobs, picking up crew members and losing some crew members along the way. Whereas in the first game, you just had to have enough money to survive, to feed yourself. You had to find a place to sleep every night. It was tough, it was dire, and you would lose. In the sequel, you are trying to find the resources to manage a whole team. You've got to keep your crew happy. You've got to stop them fighting. You've got to keep them fed. You've got to have enough fuel for the ship. You are constantly under pressure. And the entire time, you are being hounded by this terrifying villain. One of the scariest villains I've ever seen in a video game. This indifferent corporate asshole who does not see you as a person and just wants to cut the insides of you out so he can use them in another project. And he is chasing you around space to find them. He just wants the bits that are inside you. He does not consider you a real person. He just wants to cut out the bits of you so he can use them. And it is terrifying. And it is all told to you in easily the best writing a video game has ever had. Like I said this about Citizen Sleeper 1 like 5 hours ago when we started this, and I'll say it again here. The best book I have ever read is Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2. These games are beautifully written. Some of the most fire badass lines of text I have ever seen in my entire life are thrown out in these games. I don't know who wrote these, but they are one of the greatest writers that ever lived. It's unbelievable how deeply you feel for these characters. And because the games are sad, because they're hurtful, because they're tough, and you're supposed to lose, you do lose. You build up connections with characters like Junie. You feel her pain. You learn that she spent loads of her life homeless, and that you giving her a place on your ship doesn't just give you a cool crew member who now knows how to hack computers. It gives you a person who has spent their whole life homeless that you now are responsible for. And you feel that responsibility. There is a care that, I don't know, most games you are indifferent to your party members. They're cool new mechanical options. At one point, you get this massive muscular dude who can just bash through stuff. And in any other game, he would just be the big muscular guy that bashes through stuff. But in this game, you felt like you had some guy on your team who was deeply troubled by the fact that all he's good for is bashing stuff. You wanted him to improve, you cared, and you felt like every time you used him in your party to bash through walls, that you were a part of the problem. You were encouraging the behaviour that he's had to deal with his whole life, of just being used as this blunt instrument, even though you know deep down he's got a soul and a heart and he cares. And I've never seen any other video game make me feel like that about the characters, ever. Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2 do something that no other games do. And I would strongly encourage you that anytime you ever want, I've just learned in the chat, I did not know this, apparently Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2 were made by a solo developer. Holy shit, that's incredible. I want to meet this developer. I would strongly encourage you the next time you want to read something, the next time you want to pick up a book, the next time you want to feel, go pick up one of the Citizen Sleeper games. They will fucking change you. Or at least they changed me. Citizen Sleeper 1 and 2 are now on my list of games that I will play for the rest of my entire life. I will go back to these over and over again. There is a deep dread that is somehow comfortable in these games. You will fail, you will feel hurt, you will feel misery, you will feel uncomfortable, and it will be the most rewarding experience you felt. I have all the love in the world for Citizen Sleeper. Citizen Bloody Sleeper. Right. Come on then. Let's do it. Like it wasn't obvious. I've been sat here talking for a long time. I cannot wait to go eat. The number one game that came out this year. The game I love. A game I care so deeply about I can't put into words. The only game I haven't taken notes about, because I'm just going to talk, because I'm just going to talk, is Pokemon Legends Z to A. No, I'm kidding. That game is fucking terrible. It's the worst game I've ever... Oh, God, I fucking hated it. It's the worst game ever made. It's one of the worst games I've ever played in years. Fuck off, Pokemon. Fuck off. It's Blueprints. Come on. Of course it's Blueprints. It's Blueprints. I honestly don't know where to start. One of the things I talk about with you guys is that I wish I was smarter. I wish I understood more and had a bigger vocabulary so I could properly put into words how I feel about something. This is the perfect example of that. The only thing I dislike about Blueprints is that I am not smart enough to talk to you about how special Blueprints is. This is the game of the year. It's the game of the decade. And it literally might be the best game ever made. It's layered. The layers are the thing. This is a game about resistance, about family, about fighting back. It is a game about hope against the odds. And it is a game about how important your family are. And that's all hidden behind some of the most cleverly designed gameplay I've ever seen in my entire life playing video games. On the surface, Blueprints is a puzzle game mixed with a roguelike. You could actually beat the game and roll credits and have only experienced a puzzle game mixed with a roguelike. And it's an exceptional puzzle game mixed with a roguelike. Oh, it's really good. Oh, they take those two genres and they mush them together really well. But under the surface of that gameplay, just like it's under the surface in the narrative in the house, is a much, much deeper story about culture and history and family and about how important passing on lessons are. There is a perfect marrying of gameplay and of narrative here, of you physically digging deeper in the game to find the things that were hidden. They're not only hidden mechanically in the game, they're actually hidden in this world narratively for a purpose. Every single thing in this game is there for a really explicit purpose. It's masterful. There are very few games that reward narrative. Your reward is narrative. You will struggle and do the gameplay to get narrative. One of my all-time favourite games is a game called Outer Wilds. It's the only other game that does it like Blueprints does it. There just simply aren't enough words in my simple brain to describe just how special this game is. I implore you to go listen to the developer talking about this game. One of the smartest people I've ever listened to speak. The game must have been a nightmare to design. Development, I guess, less so. There's not a lot of complex, programming. You're placing rooms, you're opening rooms, you're walking into them. There's not a lot. But the actual design of it all, the way the world is laid out, the way that everything is layered on top of everything else is just... It is masterful. This is, like I said, not only the best game made this year, it is one of the best games that has ever existed. You do not get games like this every year. You don't get games like this every decade. Games like this are a blessing. We do not deserve things that are this good. There are 2 or 3 games ever that I consider on the level of Blueprints. And more importantly, I played it on stream with the people who are here now. I played it on stream with a little group we called the Puzzle Posse. And solving this as a group, not only on the surface was playing this as a group really cool, we didn't get stuck too much because there was always someone else's idea. If I didn't know what I was doing, someone in the chat would say, hey, what about this? Or what about this? That playing as a group meant there was always constant progress. But to get much deeper into the game and learn that there is a heartfelt narrative about community and about working together against the odds, about fighting back, about how much more can be achieved with a group than an individual, and to realise that I got there with a group is one of the coolest video game experiences I've ever had in my entire life. It will be special to me till the day I die. There is a very real possibility that if I stream every day for the rest of time, I will never experience anything the way that Blueprints hit. It's just magical. And it puts gameplay and narrative and design and music and art, and it combines them in a way that is almost impossible to do. There's people who spend their entire lives making games and they never find the credit they deserve. This dude's first game is Blueprint. This dude has never made any games before, and he made one of the all-time masterpieces. It's fucking absurd. It doesn't sound real. Look at us struggling with this safe. This is, by the way, for those of you that do know or don't know, this video is the shovel incident. If I keep yapping, eventually we will come across the great shovel incident. If you know, you know. If you don't know, there's a playlist of 100 videos you could go watch on YouTube. They're up there or over there somewhere. I could go on and on and on and on and on about blueprints. And if you know me in real life, I have. Everyone I know who plays games. Everyone I know who doesn't play games. The bus driver, my grand's mate, therapist, my doctor. If I have met you in real life for even a minute, I have asked you this year, have you played Blueprints? Do you know what Blueprints is? Can I tell you about Blueprints? It is like nothing else I've ever experienced in my entire life. I think I'm going to stop there because I really could just go on and on. But suffice to say, Blueprints has... It's almost like... this is the way I can say it. After you roll credits on this game, it becomes another game. There's a much deeper game that's way more about narrative and finding out narrative elements. It's like Outer Wilds. The narrative becomes the puzzle. So many elements of the history of this world, or specifically the history of your family, are solutions to puzzles. And that game is a 10 out of 10. And it happens to be hidden behind a separate 10 out of 10 that's just a puzzle game mixed with a roguelike. You can just play this puzzle roguelike with very minimal narrative until you see room 46 and you roll the credits and you can stop playing. But that whole game, that puzzle roguelike, is just the secret top layer. That if you remove, you can get to the real game that is just this incredible story. I will stop now. I'm going to stop now. But there will never, ever be anything like Blueprints. And if there is, we will be fucking lucky to have it. The game of the year, the game of the decade, the game of life. Blueprints. And not Pokemon. Come on. Fuck Pokemon. If you care, if you're still here at the end and you care about numbers and all that, I made this. You don't have to. It doesn't matter. But when this was originally going to be just one top 10, I made that. We can take a quick look at it. The overall top 10. We'll just take a quick look. Here it's here. This is what if I just made a single top 10. You'll notice that from the games that came out this year, only 3 made it onto this list. Blueprints at number 1, Citizen Sleeper 2 at number 4, Expedition 33 at number 5. They are the only 3, Expedition 33 and above, are the only 3 that made it on to the overall top 10. By far and away, the older games outweighed the games that we played this year. So it's 7 from the other list, 3 from the main list. Blueprints still at number 1 because it's honestly like nothing I've ever experienced in my life. Hollow Knight at number 2, both Citizen Sleepers at 3 and 4 because god damn it, what a game. Expedition 33, pure gold. I love turn-based RPGs. Case of the Golden Idol, one of the best puzzle games I've ever played if it wasn't for Blueprints. Super Metroid, of course, one of the all-time greats. Pyre, really special. I mean, how many times can you say you played a religious basketball game? It's magic. Pyre is the first 10 out of 10, the lowest. That's the thing here. From 8 to 1, these are 10 out of 10 video games. God, what a year. And then Astrobot and Metroid Fusion closing out the list. The quality here is just absurd. These are 10 out of 10 games. It's been the best year. And that is where I want to close this out. There's not a lot I'm looking forward to in 2026. We're going to play the next Golden Idol, but that came out years ago. In February, the new Resident Evil comes out. I'm a massive Resident Evil fan, but no Resident Evil has ever won Game of the Year. 2026 is an unknown. But I have a feeling that however long we stream for the next 10, 20, 30 years, we will be asking, is it possible for this year to beat 2025? And the answer, I think, most years is going to be no. There is no way. We have just seen what I believe to be the pinnacle year in video games. Right, that's enough for me. I've talked for far too long. Thank you so much for watching. This has been an extremely long video. You have listened to me rant and rant about the things I love, and I appreciate you so much for doing it. I really do. I am going to go eat, be merry, and play some goddamn video games. If there's one thing I can tell you, go play some goddamn... I mean, click the buttons on YouTube. That's one thing you should do. Click the like, the thumbs, the whatever, share this, whatever. But also mainly, go play some video games. Thank you for watching, YouTube. We will see you next year. I've got 2 ties on. We will see you next year when I might have 3 ties on. See you next year.